Gang, you're very welcome back. This is the Iron Mindset Podcast, a special edition. We are just after ABS Series 14 and the ABS Pro. And unlike most other episodes, we are live from the ABS Powerlifting Club. I'm joined today by ABS Powerlifting founder and head coach, Jay Farrant, the founder and owner of Urban Barbell, Ian Benson, and the main man behind CityGym all the way in Limerick, Gar Benn. Lads, you are very, very welcome onto the podcast. This is essentially to announce a huge impact coming to the Irish powerlifting scene. Something really, really big that's going to probably change the face of it for a lot of the athletes, a lot of the clubs in it. And Gars, it's your first time with us on the podcast. I'd really like to turn this over to you to tell us what's happening and what brought this about.
Sure thing. First of all, thanks for having me, man. Greatly appreciated. We're bringing USAPL Ireland. The USAPL and the IPF split, Jay, how long ago? 2 years ago? 3 years ago? Yeah?
I'd say 2, is it?
About that, yeah?
Yeah.
And since then, they've been operating on their own. Some athletes have went to USAPL, some have went to the IPF. Big names in both. Some are swapping over and back. But essentially what we're doing is we're reaching out to the USAPL, bringing them here with the hope of starting early next year. Nothing confirmed as of yet. We've just signed the papers. Everything is good to go. So we're excited.
It honestly sounds like an amazing opportunity. And I know from chatting to you just before we hit record here, the main motivator here is to present more opportunities for lifters and potentially to move closer to the vision of powerlifting each of you have. So Ian, you're very welcome back to the podcast. Great to have you, my man. I know you've been very, very busy over the past couple of months, not only in the powerlifting world, but outside of it. But naturally, Gar's done a great job explaining what's happening. But what was the motivation for you to bring your support and Urban Barbell support to the USAPL Ireland?
Well, for me, when this had, the last time I was on the podcast, I'd spoken fairly clearly about we don't actually know what the landscape of Irish powerlifting looks like in the next 12 months. And that had, what I meant by that, anyone that had an ear to the ground or was around comps would have known that Gar was talking about bringing in USAPL Ireland. And I thought I had spoken to Gar pretty much immediately about it. I was like, I'm here for it. I think we have clearly a lack of supply, but a huge demand for comps. Comps are selling out left, right, and centre. I think having alternative platforms and alternative places to compete or just extra competition available to people and to lifters, I thought was a really, really good idea. The opportunity came along and was presented to me to get involved in it recently, and I was like, yeah, I would love an opportunity to grow the sport, a sport that's done a lot for me, and to work alongside two guys who have really helped me along my career, who have inspired things that I've done within my gym, my business, who I've grown, really, really close relationship with. The opportunity to work with those guys and see what they've done, and now to have my own opportunity to be involved in that, to have a say and to be able to be involved in what will be a really, really positive change for lifters and powerlifting. Like, just to have an opportunity to put a stamp on Irish powerlifting history, I couldn't turn it down. It was huge.
And I think that's probably what this is mainly about. It's this huge opportunity that's being presented for everyone. And I know then I'm going to give Jay an opportunity to give some of his motivations behind it. But the biggest thing I think is we look at the weekend we just had at the series. Look at this place, look at the lift and the history made. And I think this opens up a whole other can of worms in Irish powerlifting. But Jay, we were talking previously just before the podcast, your motivations for this are a little different.
Yeah. So I'd be on the same level as the two lads there, but at the same time, obviously I founded the IPF with the Irish PF with Sean Ryan. Shut up. I founded the Irish PF with Sean Ryan in 2015, and back then, that to me, that was like the vision of what powerlifting should be. It was Classic was just coming in. I'd previously competed with the IDFPA, WDFPF, and that was my vision. Now, obviously being involved with the IPF, Irish PF, since 2015, having multiple roles within the federation, it's no longer what I would see as the future of powerlifting. Not the future, but what I think powerlifting should be. Obviously, it's a massive organisation. It's
got loads of positives, but just not for me. And obviously I'm already involved in the AB series, which is more so with the untested side. And yeah, I suppose after speaking with Gar, like the USAPL, what it does is, you know, it's more of a show, there's way more opportunities, and it's like a lot less restrictive. So as a business owner, I know someone who earns a living from this. I'm not like a part-time PT saving up Christmas money. Like, it makes sense from a business point of view. And then, you know, you haven't got some, how can I put it nicely? You haven't got people who don't even lift dictating to you how you can, you know, for some random country, you know, where you can go and coach and earn a living, what people you can have at your competitions officiating. Yeah, so like my motives, there's loads of different ones, but fundamentally, I just don't like the IPF anymore. That's not to say that it's not a good thing, but it's just not for me. Like,
it no longer really aligns with what your vision of powerlifting is.
No.
Can I ask you a question then? Would you say it's more that the IPF has moved away from what you wanted powerlifting to be, or do you think what you've wanted powerlifting to be has evolved? Like, as you mentioned, you've been in it very heavily since 2015. So over the past 8 years, is it fair to say that maybe your vision of it has changed, or do you think the federation has moved further away from what it was meant to be in your eyes?
I'd say it's a little bit of both. Like, my vision of powerlifting has definitely changed. I see other sports like darts. I'm like, how the fuck is darts getting like 20, 30, 40,000 people? A lot of fat guys throwing arrows on a board. And it looks at me, I want to go, like, I even watch it. Like, so, like I said, I don't see why powerlifting shouldn't have that, like, wow factor. It's like humans lifting mad weight. And then there's a lot of things over the years where I think the IPF have, like, I sound like I'm shitting on them, which I kind of am, is they've made it really unlifter friendly, which is kind of, I just can't get on board with that. You know, Article 14, which directly impacts me a lot. Just, you know, the way they run the comps now, they've got the prime time flight. So even, you know, lifters who like work their asses off to get to Worlds, who know they'll never win or podium, but just to be like in the same flight as all the superstars that they look up to, now they're just fucked aside into like the morning flights. So things like that, just like, yeah, they're not for me. And that's not, you know, the way I want to go with it. The sport.
Well, the big question I think I'd like to ask all you guys, Gar, start with you. You run CityGym down in Limerick. You have a huge cohort, a huge number of lifters that have competed almost exclusively with the Irish PF, which is a subsidiary federation to the International Powerlifting Federation. And there might be some people listening that don't know Article 14 means that lifters under the IPF cannot compete under any other federation or even unaffiliated events like the AB Series. It essentially tells people competing in what is an amateur sport where they can and can't lift. What have the implications been for this, for you, your club and your athletes?
Well, some of the big things is like, even if people want to come up here and compete with J Series, like there is this thing of like, oh, will we get banned? Won't we get banned? All this kind of thing. And I was chatting with Wade Johnson in the USAPL, and he made such a good point. He was saying, if someone is entering into anything that is drug tested, and you pay your money for a competition, whatever it is, you put 100 on the table, there you go, I'd like to enter this competition. Once the competition is done, that agreement is terminated. It's over. You know, so if I pay you for the competition, I attend the competition and lift, at the end of it, it's done. I should have the right to go somewhere else and lift somewhere else. But more and more so, the IPF are seen, I don't want to make them seem like they're this gang of overlords or something, do you know what I mean? But it's like, how do we get someone into the federation and then kind of trap them? You know, I know that sounds like it's very, you know, conspicuous or whatever, but like, it's kind of the way it is. If you sign up with us, you can't go anywhere else. Even if it's drug tested to the same standard, even if the competition hosts the same standards, like, of everything else in terms of lifting, refereeing, everything, you can't go there because. and there's no reasoning behind it. You know what I mean? It's, we've made this rule, we want to keep you here, this is all you can do, and that's that. And I can't get on board with that personally. I just can't get on board with this kind of bullying. You know, you have to stay with us, you have no options, and that's that, you know?
Yeah.
And you're talking about the kind of, you know, Jay's vision for powerlifting, which is, as you can see around us, is awesome, you know? But the IPF keep moving, like what we were saying right before we started, towards this idea of like, we want to be in the Olympics. We want like silent competitions. We don't want any pageantry of any sort. We don't even want to see lifters kind of get too amped up, anything like this, you know? And they're moving towards like more and more rules, as you were saying, Jade, that are away from the lifter. So it's going against the lifter consistently, and even locations of international competitions at times have went like massively against the lifters, putting them into really bad areas and stuff like that. You're like, okay. The USAPL, on the other hand, seem to be doing the exact opposite. And that's why I think they're quite clever. And when I spoke with the councils and the people over there, they're like, well, we want to put on a good experience for every lifter that comes here. We want to drug test more than the IPF to the same spec that the IPF are doing. And it just seems like they're doing everything right at the moment. Now, who's to say? Like, we were at the first comp that yourself and Sean Ryan set up there. Who's to say in another couple of years we won't be somewhere else, you know?
Another one.
But for now, this seems like the best position and the best direction that we could go in, you know?
And I will say it's a fair ballsy move, because I think particularly people who've gotten into powerlifting in a post-lockdown world almost think the IPF is the only game in town, which
for
is,
sure.
when we look back at the history of powerlifting, it's not necessarily the case. But I'd definitely like to ask a couple of questions for you, Ian, because you have quite a unique viewpoint. Not only are you a business owner, a coach, but you're also an athlete. You have competed in all over, but more specifically competed very recently at the ABS series just a couple of months ago. Yourself and Noah Whelan going head to head for the first, who can get their first 500 dots points, which was huge. Really, really good head to head. And I think you'll agree with me, Gar, you've obviously seen it over the past couple of years, watching what Jay has done here with the series. And it is all about the lifter experience, the athlete experience, how they're treated from media to their weigh-ins to their press conferences, and then how they're treated on the day. They are treated like the athletes that they are. They aren't cordoned off in a small area, or you go here now, you go here now. Ian, you can speak to this probably more than anybody else as somebody who's experienced it.
Yeah, like as a very active lifter and a coach, like I coach a lot between ABS series and IPF comps. I encourage all of my lifters to compete in both, you know, but I tell them that the series is just a lot more exciting. Like, especially, like, here's the thing. And this is not meant in any kind of offensive manner, but 95% of lifters ain't going to nationals. Even less are going to qualify to be international lifters. I was one of those. So I'm speaking from that lens of experience. So why pigeonhole yourself to regional comps in small gyms that maybe just don't have the opportunity to grow? Because powerlifting is a very expensive sport to be in, very difficult to turn a profit from. For lifters to have an opportunity to have the best platform, to have the best facilities, that should be available to all lifters. The people that fund this sport are the 95%, the ones that aren't making it to nationals, the ones that just do it for the love of the sport. They deserve a lot more. And while all of the venues that I've ever been at and all of the gyms and clubs that have hosted are trying their goddamn best, it's just still not good enough. And it's not even the clubs or the gym owners' faults, right? Yeah. It's like, it's a gym set up to have 100 members and the toilets are set up for that. It's like, you cannot really understand the value of adequate parking, toilet and changing facilities.
Yeah.
And also to not have people's, as a gym owner, going to a competition in someone's gym, I can personally feel their pain when I see their gyms get torn apart.
Yeah.
And that's just what happens with it. And it's like, I know exactly what that's costing them. And it's like, we can do better than this. We can do better than this. And there's just certain restrictions that come with other federations that this just gives us the opportunity to not have those restrictions. We can just say, hey, what about these venues? These are going to be better facilities. This is going to be better for the lifters. We can put on a spectacle, a show. Like the AB series is the best thing that's happened in recent Irish powerlifting history. And that's why I support it. It's why I want to be involved in it. And I get a closer opportunity to be involved and help this other federation become that, if not bigger. You know, it's honestly, I just want to be able to put on a show and spectacle that the athletes and lifters deserve. Like I said, the people that keep it alive are those people who are just turning up to regionals for the love of the sport. And for the people that really do love this sport, that keep it going and keep it alive, I want to be able to give them something that they can really look at and go, wow, this was cool. Like what Jay's doing here. And us all coming together creates an opportunity. It takes a little bit of, you know, pressure off of Jay to always have to do this off his own back. Yeah. We can kind of get an opportunity to get involved together, bring it to a much bigger space. You know what I mean? Like just having our own say, views, and being able to do what we want to do with it for the benefit of the lifters. That's what it's about for me.
And I think that's the biggest thing. Even if we look at the banner behind us here, how before we start recording, when you guys were off getting a bit of grub, I was actually explaining to Dan, who carried the entire Primal studio over here for this, so thank you. I was explaining to him who each of these incredible athletes were competing at the ABS Pro this year. And that was the thing. I didn't even have to mention how much weight they lifted. It was who they were and what this competition meant to them. Dave Richardson, the 2022 champ. Could he potentially be the first ever consecutive champion? Nicholas Dupree's coming for his first competition outside of South Africa and his first time leaving his home country. Josh Edwards attempting to redeem himself after last year's unfortunate misses on his deadlift. Stella Higgins, who was just off a bodybuilding prep, pressing 2 times her body weight on the bench press. And everybody else on the platform, Luke Tolman, 2021 champ, Boris, who came out of nowhere, which was incredible. I heard he's actually one of only 3 under 105 lifters to total what he's totaled or more. So that's incredible. And it was all done here in Ireland in the ABS Powerlifting Club at the ABS Pro. And Jay, I think this is something you'll speak to. You and I have spoke to extensively about this before. I've heard people talk about some international meets from the IPF and elsewhere where it's really about the people running the event, less about the lifters. The lifters are almost a backdrop. But I think everyone on this poster and anyone who's ever competed at either an ABS series or the ABS Pro can speak to yourself, our team, and what we do here for the lifters and the experience we give them. So I know the athlete experience is paramount to you.
Yeah, I think it's like, as Ian was saying, 95% of people, keep the federation running. So I don't get how it wouldn't be about the athlete experience. They're like your customers, and if you give your customers a good experience, then they'll keep coming back. Mm-hmm. So, to me, it's a no-brainer on that point. And I think the USAPL have that same mentality. Mm-hmm. They have the big TVs and the flashy lights and DJs and all this cool shit. So it's like you could go there and not be very strong, but you're gonna get a great experience. You're gonna feel like you're actually at an event versus a lot of the IPF, international IPF events where it's the complete opposite. They'll throw you in the back end of nowhere in a fucking field with goats, literally Turkey. You'll be in some hall with no air conditioning, and you might have 4 people in the audience, someone's grandma, do you know what I mean? So, and then you just it's just conveyor belt. There's nothing. So yeah, I can't remember the original question, but yeah, it's all it literally I don't get how it's not based around athlete experience.
Was that something you noticed though over time when you were, again, you've coached internationally for Ireland dozens of times and domestically? Was it you were noticing there was less and less emphasis on these athletes, and then running your own competitions here at the series and how you've done it essentially what looks like a complete 180? It's totally presented totally differently. Was that you were why are these people not doing this when it's such a no-brainer?
Yeah, even as a coach, there's no thing for the even coaches. Like coaches are like athletes. They lift, they get, they get the reward, if you want to call it that, and then they put a post up. Whereas like the coaches, like they usually pay out their own pocket to go over, and then like you're treated even worse. Like, we've all been to internationals. Like you literally get treated like a piece of shit. Like, don't go right there, don't do that. You get spoke to like a cunt. Like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Is this your guys' experience as well? At international meets, treated similarly?
I was lucky. My first international experience was a Masters comp, which is always going to be like very chill vibes. Yeah. My second was at Worlds in Sweden during COVID, so I was at the Alico HQ, and that setup was, from what I'm aware, was a significantly better setup than most. But yeah, as a coach there, I mean, I was happy for the experience, but yeah, there is definitely like this. You're almost like forgotten about.
There's like a deficit in.
Yeah, it's like you go, you spend some money to go, but again, I think for a lifter and coach alike, you're just not really given the credit or acknowledgement that I feel like those people deserve. It's like when you come to the AB series, there's a media team promoting you as a lifter. Jay's recently started promoting, like you were vocal recently through your social media about you should be also promoting more coaches. You spoke about Denise Herber's coach and how much you admired him and his work. And there are things that Jay is at the forefront of now with the series in terms of promoting lifters, bringing like actual media teams, and being like, okay, these are the athletes, this is the work they do, resharing their training videos. And honestly, as someone who's gotten to compete at one of the Pro Series events, you receive that invite, that means something to you as an athlete to have your hard work acknowledged, to receive that official invite. It's a big deal. You send it to all your friends, you screenshot it, it's in every WhatsApp group you're in. You come in, your name is on a chair right out here. You're brought into a press conference, you're brought in the back, there's a media team taking your photos as an athlete, you're handed like your athlete bag with your rehydration protocol, like you're looked after. There was a bus taking lifters around. Yeah. A big black tinted out Mercedes Sprinter.
Yeah.
That's how it should be. Yeah. Like that is something that can be spread across the entire game of the sport if done correctly. Like, I'm just excited to be able to be involved in it. Like, honestly, that's what I'll keep saying. It's like, I'm going to keep reiterating the same point. I have an opportunity to be involved in a thing that's going to grow the sport and make it way better for everybody. Like, my athletes, my club members are going to directly benefit from that. And so is everybody else. Like, great. Like, this is like a no-brainer.
Just on that, so what Ian's saying, I know we talked a lot about the AB series, but what I see is like the reason we're on about it is like us three can do that with USAPL.
Yeah.
So it's not. That's why it's featuring so much. It's like we all are on the same page. That we all want to do that with USAPL, and USAPL actually have a similar layout. They have the pro card. They put the graphics up, pro card. From what I've seen, it's way more in line with what we say here, and all agree that's how it should be done. To other feds, not just IPF, like all other feds. To be honest. So I just wanted to.
No, for sure, and like that's like thank you, because that's actually what I was going to link it back around to. We've talked about, particularly here, because we're literally on the platform for the series where there's been so many historic moments and so many moments made. We all know we've got those like core memories unlocked. This fantastic moment. There's that really cool picture of Ian flexing and the fires going in the background. It's deadly. I actually used it for his podcast episode thumbnail.
It's probably the most used ABS Powerlifting series piece of media. So I think it's Jay's favourite. He has it in his office.
I do love them pictures.
Yeah.
That was, I autographed the last one for him.
But that's what I mean. I think that's why, like, again, another favourite, Dave Richardson coming out of Clash of Titans. It looks like a heavy metal gig. Yeah. It's amazing. So I think it's only natural because we're sitting literally in the presence of all these great moments right here on the stage that we will use this as a reference point. But that is the key point. We don't need the AB series and a tested federation running in opposite directions. No. This is probably the best way we can present this rogue sport the way it's meant to be done. The audience are on their feet. They're having a great time. They cheer the loudest. This is what we want, not just for us as people on this side of it, or you guys more specifically running your own clubs and running your own teams and as promoters essentially, but for the people in the audience and for the lifters. That experience is second to none. People travel to the series to watch people they don't know lift because they know it's going to be an event. And I don't think, and like, I lift in the IPF, I like the IPF, but I don't think they can say the same for most meets. People won't travel to those to just watch lifting. It's going to be your mom and dad, your brother and your sister, your aunt, your uncle, your boyfriend, your girlfriend, your husband, your wife. You know what I mean? Whereas there's people I know that come to watch. I want to see what Jesse Warren does this time. I want to see what Luke Tolman can do. I want to see what Dave Richardson's all about. When's Jake Brennan coming back to Total 1000 again? All those series ago. That still haunts him. But that's what I mean. I think it's fair to say, imagine we can present that, but for the lifters that want to compete, tested. And I think that's the really exciting thing. So with that, I want to ask a couple of questions because I know there's people that are going to listen to this are going to say, yes, but. So fair to say, Gar, I think you can pretty much acknowledge this. It's a no-brainer. If you were going to be somebody who lifts in USAPL, you want to be a tested athlete, you can still lift at an AB series.
Yes. Great.
And pretty much everywhere you want.
Yeah. Anywhere else you want. Yeah.
Excellent. And I think this is going to be another one is, what would it look like for those, we talked, there's the 95% of most people that come in and this is like a recreational sport for them to have a bit of fun, but we do have those core athletes who this is their whole life. And they want to know, well, can I still go internationally? Can I still represent my country? Will that pathway be there for those lifters? And that's probably going to be a bit of a question mark, but feel free to answer.
No, it actually will be. So that is in the pipeline already, and there's loads of different plans being developed at the moment. They just have to nail down the final thing.
Excellent.
But as of now, that's what they're creating. And one of the big things they were saying, it's why I brought up the point a while ago about certain venues that the IPF have went to. They want to be anti that. They want to bring it to really cool places that people would actually want to go to. Do you know what I mean? It makes a lot more sense, right?
Not Belarus.
Not
Belarus.
I'm out, lads. See you later.
yeah.
But Vegas, maybe.
I don't know which is worse, Belarus or Vegas.
I can't imagine.
We wouldn't find
Belarus
Jay if we
time.
went to Vegas. He'd be gone for the whole meet. No, but this is it, and I think that's the exciting thing because even that, you guys are getting in here on the ground level. So and it's amazing because I know you're four movers and shakers and like to make things happen. Like every series we see, you make things better. And I will say, guys, receptive to ideas, and I love that. I love that it's not the meets in 2019 don't look exactly the same in 2023. There's evolution here every single time. So, like for me personally, the lifters walking through the audience for their last deadlifts was amazing. That was goosebump moments there for me. Like how you guys obviously were here for some of it. What did you think?
Class.
Honestly, coolest competition in the world. It is. It's like.
I thought you were going to say something else. Honestly,
It was terrible.
If there was anything missing, if there's any one criticism I have of it is that I wasn't there and probably still out total the bottom half of that division yesterday. Maybe not the bottom half, at least two or three of them.
It's Wilkes. You sound like Matthew McKeegan.
I'm just saying, man.
But can I then ask, that's what you, like, Jay Farrant, you're the one that puts all this together. And do you know what actually makes me excited? Yourself, the ABS team, have essentially done this with the help of the sponsors, but essentially solo, right? So now you're going to be on board with Urban Barbell and CityGym. And the potential there for growth, I think, is massive.
So that's another thing for me personally is I've known these two unfortunately for a long time. We've been rivals in a good way, frenemies. We've both built businesses from the ground up to, that's our full-time gig, so we're not broke. So for me, I know what it's like to like run an organization, and I like doing it on my own with the AB series. But I just, for this, the exciting thing is like I'm not going to be on my own. I don't have it's not a committee based thing. It's two people that like I respect and know they're grafters. So I can see it being massive, and one of the biggest differences with this versus a committee, and the way the Irish PF is run. Again, this is not a knock on the Irish PF. It's just the way these federations run. There's no incentive, long-term incentive. So we all love powerlifting, but no one loves working their ass off for free. So if you look at the Irish PF, the turnover of people since I started is really high. Really good people came in, like Sean Ryan, Rob Burke, loads of other people that I'm just going to forget, because there's no money involved. And at the end of the day, if you want something to be really good, if you give someone the financial incentive, they'll work the balls off to make it good. So there's no illusions that this is also a financial incentive for me. Like I'd make more money from it. Gar's gonna make more money from it. Ian's gonna make more money from it. But that's motivation to make it great.
Yes.
You know. Whereas when you're on a committee and you have to fucking pay $15,000 to, you know, an organisation that don't do the job properly, allegedly, then like, you know, where's the incentive? You know, like you're not getting paid for it. Actually, probably costs us money when we run comps. Like you said, we've had this discussion.
I can't think of how many we've hosted. We checked it out the other day, but I would say there was 2 or 3, I think, that we've been not making a loss on.
Yeah.
You know, again, not a stab at the Irish PF.
Well,
you know,
that I'm involved in that.
Yeah.
And like, it's not like there's like, you know, we sold the Ferrari and the helicopter. There's not enough money there to actually pay gyms more, because there's fees going to have to go to like other places. But you know,
yeah,
like
and that's a shame, you know, because like you love the sport, you want it to grow. I'm pretty sure that like off the back of our 2 venues, like the Irish PF in particular has grown massively.
Yeah.
But there's only a certain amount of times you can kind of take a hit, and it's gotten to the point now where everyone at the very beginning, because we were at that first comp, and I remember the split from the IDFPA to the Irish PF, and it was this thing of like, because there's risks involved with every move, right? Like every single move, and there's a risk involved in this, and you know, it's a calculated risk, and there's this kind of a line with what we see powerlifting being, which is why we're making the move. But then you host year after year, and the people that were there at the very, very start knew ABS and CityGym and knew every single member in both, and the facilities were respected a lot. And not that people are purposefully going in wrecking places now, but there's no sentimental value to the gyms anymore, you know? Yeah. So things do get broken. Unfortunately, bills come in for 4 figures after of things broken. You're like, oh my God, not only am I making a loss, now I have to do all these repairs as well. And that is the thing when you plow hundreds of people through a gym, as you said, no fault of anyone involved. No. You know, it's not like someone saying, I'm going to purposefully break the gym and then I'm going to purposefully not pay. No one's saying that. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, you have to look at the financial aspects as well. And the business of powerlifting, it's a finicky thing. Yeah. Do you know what I mean?
Well, I think, just to say it out loud, I don't think you were saying, you know, obviously you guys you have a financial incentive to do this. This potentiates you growing your businesses. That's a good thing. I'm happy to hear that. Like, I've worked, like, Ian Benson recently opened a new urban barbell facility. Yeah. Okay, so that's indicative that business is doing pretty good. You could have kept in the same facility you were and kept the money, but you've opened a bigger facility with more equipment, with more bits and pieces. That, you know what? Sinks with hot water is a big deal. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Clean toilets is a big deal, Jay. So you get what I'm getting. Like,
Irish PF, I'm coming back.
So this is what I'm saying. And same here with the series, with all these things, you're putting your financial gains back into your businesses, back into the sport. I don't see how this could be viewed as a negative thing at all. So I think that actually speaks volumes to where your priorities lie and the fact that you aren't in this to make a quick buck and fuck off, essentially. These are all in this for, like you've talked about, you guys have been here since day one. You've seen what the sport, where it was and where it is now and the direction it's gone. And this is the next bold step for Irish powerlifting. And I have massive respect for that. So I think that's going to be a really huge thing. So with that, I want to just ask a couple of quick questions to you. And again, answer whoever wants to hop in. I want to just ask, does this mean, we've talked about the financial hits you guys have all taken to your venues running competitions for other federations, and I know you have said, like, this is not the Irish PF's fault. The Irish PF is running under the ruling of the IPF. They have to essentially do what they want them to do. So this is not a knock on anyone involved. A lot of them are very hard workers. Some great lifters as well. We can all agree. You've coached many of them to be the athletes they are. However, does this mean we are going to see CityGym, Urban Barbell and ABS Powerlifting become exclusively USAPL venues?
Well, I'll start. For me, yeah, because I've said this openly to my committee members, and I said it before I even started this. For me to run a comp that's not AB series, because I obviously take all the proceeds, it's like not worth my while. Like, it's just not worth my while. It's not worth having to strip the gym apart and stuff get damaged. But my volunteers don't even, my gym members don't even want to help, because like there's only so many times you can go to the well and keep asking people to give up their Saturdays, Sundays, and then they come in Monday and the gym is a mess, you know, not put back, or they got to put back together everyone's mess. So for me, yeah, like there's no financial incentive. There's no, like, why would I? You know, it doesn't really benefit me anymore. I've done it enough. You know, I could run, from speaking to Gar, I could run like one USAPL comp, and I'd probably make more money than running 4 or 5 other comps, federations. You know, probably less work as well. So. Yeah, like it's a no-brainer. I can't physically fit any more comps into this gym calendar without pissing people off in the gym more. So it's for the foreseeable future for me. It's like no.
Yeah, we do have another competition here in 2 weeks.
Yeah, teens. Yeah.
So then, and fellas, I will say, as I turn the question towards you guys, it's reasonable if the answer is we just don't know yet, but. It is a question, I think, again, I'm asking more for people who are tuning in and listening. What does this mean for the future of Irish powerlifting? What do you think? Will the Irish PF be potentially running meets or no in CityGym and Urban Barbell?
Well, for me, I've never hosted a comp for anything, so I'm going to be involved heavily within the USAPL. That's where I'm going to be shifting all of my focus and time and energy. That's just where I'm at with it. Honestly, I don't know maybe, but there's a possibility that none of our gyms host comps ever again and we focus on bigger venues. It's part of coming together. It's that we just may not host in our gyms anymore because we're now able to structure things with the 3 of us together to say, we can actually get bigger venues and organize things in a proper way. So I think for me, it's not so much about, I'm not going to host your comps because it's us versus you. It's just, I'm just probably not going to host comps, and I'm probably just going to host things in bigger, better venues with toilets and parking. But that's now going to be my federation that I'm involved with, and that's what I'm going to be responsible for organizing. I'm not part of a committee anywhere else. I'm not involved in any other fed or tied into anything else. So I probably just won't have my gym host, apart from like small in-house member comps for up-and-comers who we're trying to teach the ropes of the game to. That's where it's at for me. I just don't know I don't see the future of powerlifting growing inside in gyms. It's just not. As a lifter, you're a lifter. The gyms are doing their best. We always have the crack. It's always a good show, but it could always be better. I don't see it happening in gyms anymore. So for me, like I said, it's not so much about nope, I'm not hosting your comps because I'm against you. I wish you all the best. I've had a great time. I just see it going this direction.
Yeah.
And this is what I'm going to be focusing on. But, you know, I'm not falling out with anybody.
For sure. That is probably an excellent answer.
Yeah, nice one, Ian.
I do want to
Yeah.
come back to that, but I do want to
shit,
give Gar representing CityGym a chance to answer.
No, of course. I'm going to piggyback off Ian. Because basically the thing is, like, if we can move them outside of the gym, and again, this isn't against the Irish PF,
Yeah.
but if we can move things outside of gyms, well, then all of the paying members can still go in at the weekend.
Yeah.
And then we're not going, oh, hey, can you come on a Friday night because we have to close the gym at 6 now rather than 9. And rather than you guys training, we now need you to set up a camp. And then you can't come in Saturday or Sunday unless you're volunteering or lifting. But I need you back in Sunday night again to help us wrap up the place, you know? So now the people paying memberships to be there could train the Friday, train through the weekend. And if we can just move things out of the gym, it'll probably be a bit better. Our plumbing won't be wrecked. Do you know what I mean? Our platforms won't be broken, all of this stuff, which are all natural things to happen. Again, when you have so many people go through the facility.
Yes.
Because hundreds pass through.
Hundreds.
And like, I wish we actually had like a warehouse, like a bigger space to work with. But our gym and the way it's like everyone here's been there, like the way it's designed, it's just made to break. You know what I mean? Like it's just, there's so many tight corners and stuff like that. Things easily get broken there. Again, not assigning blame, but if we could get a nice big open venue, host these USAPL comps, then we're into a whole new stratosphere of competitions. Do you know what I mean?
100%. And I think that really highlights where powerlifting has been, that it was the path of least resistance to run them in powerlifting clubs, because that's where all the equipment was and where all the volunteers were, and probably where most of the athletes probably trained in many cases.
Yeah.
But I think that presents this massively exciting move forward coming into 2024 with Jay Farrant and Benson and Gar Benn coming together, that you may look at the assumption that powerlifting competitions are held in powerlifting gyms as a thing of the past, and you're actually going to have a venue, a nice, easy middle ground for everybody, an even playing field, which I know has been thrown around a few times for national events being held in other people's gyms, that everyone's going to travel to the venue. The venue is going to have parking. It's going to have good toilets.
I painted the floor.
David has painted the floor. But the venue is going to be set up custom to run these huge meets and will have been pre-selected and screened to be able to facilitate an event of this size. And that's very exciting to me. We already know the series has far outgrown the ABS Powerlifting Gym. I know CityGym, again, you guys do an amazing amount with a very small space.
Yeah.
Like that's probably the Irish PF competition venue I've been in the most, and it is so fucking hot and it's so small. But you guys do an amazing job with that. So the fact that you guys have been able to do this with the space you have, the idea that you could have a venue that could facilitate what are clearly huge ideas is very exciting to me. And that's a very interesting step that I'm looking forward to seeing y'all make. But with that then, what does this mean for the future of Irish powerlifting in each of your opinions? Like, I know it's a huge positive. I know it's going in the right direction. And I know there's many lifters listening to this. Some may be concerned, but I'm sure there's thousands that are like, this is going to be huge. This is amazing. But what does it mean for you guys? Can you even give me like a rough idea of what's going to happen in the next 12 to 24 months?
Do you want to take it away?
Yeah, sure. So I think it's with the three of us, if it goes the way we kind of want it to go, it'll be more streamlined and more professional. As you said, none of us want it in gyms. Like, I should have said what Ian says, but I've had like 1 hour sleep. None of us want it in gyms, but like, we want to bring it to a venue. I'd love to like be able to go on holiday and like the two lads, right, you've got it this weekend, and it's like bomb, venue, everything streamlined. We're all getting fruits of our labor, and going back to your original point, like competition is the best thing you can have, because you either sink or swim, or you just get better. So we've all been in competition for the last 8, 9, 10 years, trying to beat each other on the platform, and between our gyms, like we've easily put 50% of like national champions or international athletes. So competition makes things better. So I think it's a really, really, really good move, and it'll either force change or lifters will just go to where they want to, where the best competitions are.
The high tide raises all ships.
Yes, it
Exactly.
does. I think one of the things that is important to remember in this is the reason that I feel this will become very successful, and it's no disrespect to any other federations, especially not towards the Irish PF, who, I've always had a great time with. But the people that run that don't do this for a living like the three of us. That's not a problem, but we can commit all of our resources, times, and effort to this.
Yeah.
We don't have external life distractions. This is our life. This is what we do, and we want it to continue to be better. That's what it is for me. It's like we actually do this full time, so by us coming together, we can make it a bigger and better thing. Like I said, it's just other committees. They're volunteers. They can only commit so much time. So when you can only commit a little bit of your time, you're just not going to get that same amount of growth. You're not going to get that same quality. You know what I mean? You can't do this stuff part-time and expect it to be really good. Same with as an athlete in the sport. You can't just kind of do it and get better. You're going to get found out pretty quick. If you want to get better at something, you got to keep turning up day in and day out. And that's what we do in this sport. Like every single day, we're in the business of this sport. We love it. We want to see it grow. And I just think that it just got a little bit boring at times. And, that's why I became very excited by the series when it came along, and to get to bring some of what that's doing to a tested platform, to be able to offer IPF lifting, whatever that is, right? Illegal plates, stiff bars, whatever, like that ideology, but to be able to offer that style of powerlifting, but on a platform that is promoted and puts on a show for people. That's what it is. And just like I said, the three of us do this full time for a living, so we're actually able to commit all of our time and resources to it. So the outcome is going to be better. And it's not a disrespect to anyone else. They just can't commit that same amount of time because it's just not what they do for a living.
What was the question again? I agree with this.
Yeah, no, for sure. And honestly, the two lads, Jay and Ian, have made a lot of excellent points here about what the future is going to look like for Irish powerlifting. So I want to know, from your perspective, what does this mean for the future of Irish powerlifting with you guys coming together to bring USAPL Ireland?
Like, the future in general, like, is in what it specifically looks like, I wouldn't know. But the direction, because, like, over the years, we've obviously been elevating the gyms and the comps bit by bit. And, you probably remember our first comps, I remember your first, and stuff like this. And, Urban got this, Abs got this. So now I have to get this. And, then we'll try this. As we said, rising tide. So we're always trying to, like, get better and better. But the thing is, when you bring all three people together, there still won't be any complacency. Now it's like, okay, how do we do this together and actually pull on, like, as you said, every bit of resources that we have to do something that hasn't been seen here? Do you know what I mean? As you said, Jay, like, this is you doing this as a person, and you'd like to be able to say, okay, I'm going on holidays, and that is okay, because like gym owners don't do that, right?
No.
It's like, I can't go on holidays because everything will fall apart. But if you've two other people you trust, and it's like, oh, comp is that weekend, I have to go away that weekend, that's fine. And it will still run to perfection. And that's kind of what we're looking for. So I don't know specifically what it will look like in the future, but I know that the direction and the momentum that we're building into it is really, really good.
I think if I were to summarize it, where I think it's going, and like I said, it's going to be somewhat vague. It's very difficult to get into specific details, but it very much looks like this early on. Bigger venues, better facilities, better equipment at all times, higher standards for volunteers, looking after the volunteers that give up a lot of their time and making sure that they're taken care of for it. Incentivizing them to do it and actually, probably paying them.
Yeah.
What amount, we don't know. These are things to be hashed out, but these
sure.
are things that need to be brought in. Making sure that there's actual good media promotion that who doesn't want to be promoted on the Instagram page of the federation and, you know, have cool snippets and reels done of them? Like, I just see it being bigger, better, and more streamlined, and you know that we're gonna start to create a spectacle. A lot of people probably, yeah, but competing internationally, it's coming. Like, in a nutshell, how, when, where, and what, we're figuring that out. But
sure.
there's more than just us involved in that. But it is 100% coming.
Yeah.
You know, there's going to be a nationals. There's probably going to be a junior nationals, a masters nationals. These things will exist, but they'll probably have some uniqueness to them that will be slightly different. These are things that we'll hash out.
For sure.
You know what I mean? Because we want to offer an alternative brand of powerlifting, because lifters deserve options.
For sure. And I think that's the big thing, because one, like you are all aware, it's actually very difficult for many lifters to even get places in open meets now. Yeah. So the idea of having more opportunities for newer lifters to get into the sport, lift to a high standard on an excellent platform that's presented very well, because we don't know if they're going to do it once or 100 times. The fact that we are now meeting the demand and providing them with that platform is huge. And as you said, look, this is the very beginning of this. So again, thank you very much, Ollie, for coming and revealing it here on the Iron Mindset. I'm very flattered. But I think the big piece of it is that it's that this is all fueled towards the future of the sport. Though I will say this, Jay Farrant will not take a holiday no matter what he says, because he had a holiday about 2 weeks ago and he spent 8 hours a day on his phone doing programming. So don't listen to this man. He's going to be at every single one of them no matter what he says.
Miss him.
Just not Louis' program.
He's still waiting for it. Gang, I think that's like a pretty damn good place to wrap things up. The future is incredibly bright for Irish powerlifting. You guys are all powerhouses in the sport, and the idea of you all coming together to let this thing take shape and happen is huge, because 3 big personalities, 3 incredible clubs. I can only imagine what you're going to present in 2024. And I like the overall message here is that while you may be changing your focus away from the likes of the IPF and the Irish PF, that can still exist in its own right. Yeah. And people that want to lift there can lift there. But you are giving athletes, lifters and clubs another place that they can invest, watch their athletes develop, and lift on a myriad of different platforms that they want to lift on and celebrate what this incredible sport is.
Couldn't agree more.
Perfect.
Mm-hmm. 100%.
Right, fellas, thank you very much. That's been the Iron Mindset podcast in abs powerlifting for the very first time. Thank you very much for tuning in.
Thank you for having us,
Thank
bud.
you.
Sound, fellas.
I love lamp.